And coming up on Newsline, the latest in business, sport and weather.
But first, the Gillard government's first budget promised $200 million to improve the Australian apprenticeship system. But with over half of apprentices dropping out before finishing, is the money too little, too late? As I found, the Australian apprenticeship system may be in a state beyond repair. With employees struggling to financially support workers and a 52% apprentice dropout rate, tradies have sent a clear message to would-be workers. Get a pre-apprenticeship or don't bother.
I'll put it to you this way, I would not interview an apprentice or apprentice-to-be unless he's done a pre-apprenticeship.
Arthur Markoulis owns an electrical and communications company and has a number of apprentices. He says apprentices and employers need more help.
The government should be helping a lot more financially for the first 2 years because the apprentices are really virtually cost the employer money to keep them on.
But according to those involved with training apprentices, the dropout rate has less to do with the money, or lack of it, and more to do with the fact that people don't understand the trade they're getting themselves into.
I think they're often unaware of what a plumber actually is. I think the public are unaware of what a plumber actually is. And yeah, most definitely, I think that would be a way to retain them in the industry. The ones that want to stay after that 14-week program will stay and move on, and the others will look at other options. So no, they're definitely the pathway type programs are the way to go.
These plumbing pre-apprentices at RMIT learn all the practical sides of the job.
I think it's one of the best things that's happened in training is to having a pre-apprenticeship or a fielder program. But not only that, it offers, I think they get, it's roughly 6 weeks credit off their apprenticeship training. So that's another benefit and the motivation for the students and the employers because they have them back on the workshop, the work site. So.
Apprentices agree. David Hecker's a fourth-year apprentice who has seen classmates drop out.
Like you see some people at trade school drop out here and there, either because they don't like the schooling or they just don't like the work.
Would you tell people to do a pre-apprenticeship?
Yeah, either do a pre-apprenticeship or just try and get work experience with someone, just to try and learn a little bit and to see if you like it, because that's probably why most people drop out, because they just jump into it and they've never done it before.
A government report has found that half of apprentices drop out before finishing, and close to half of those still involved in the system are over 25. So is it just that Generation Y are afraid of a little hard work? Or is there another explanation?
Careers advice. Australia really needs to look at its careers advice. There's some fantastic careers advisors out there working in schools, but careers advice more often than not boils down to a piece of paper, and people are set on a trajectory for the rest of their life on a decision they're making when they're 16 or 17 years of age, and often people drop out of apprenticeships because they feel trapped. They got into the apprenticeship for the wrong reason.
This could be true, but no one denies that for the first couple of years the money isn't great and the work is hard.
At the start of the course you have about 13, by the end it's 6, so it does half.
So why does Sam think his classmates are dropping out?
Probably the pay, I reckon. They reckon they're not getting enough money, and they see everybody else, even mates who are qualified and stuff, and making probably double what they're making, so I guess they just don't want to do it.
But for this apprentice at least, dropping out is not an option.
It does get pretty tiring after a while, but I guess even though the money's not that great at the start, you just got to keep at it and say, well, eventually money will get better. So I guess it's just, if you're really motivated to do it, just do it.
Samantha Leacock, Newsline.
Thanks for that, Samantha. And joining us now for an update on business is Jane Vashti Ryan. Now, Jane, I hear that Myer is increasing its offshore manufacturing.
That's right, Christy. It looks like they'll be increasing their manufacturing in China to be imported from the $70 million Australian it was this year to $200 million by the end of 2016. The impetus for this is to raise profits from the Myer exclusive brand series, but the rising wage bill in China due to the Western labour laws meeting that country recently mean that there will be increased costs that will be passed on to the Australian shopper at the supermarket counter.
And Jane, you've got some news about the new Galaxy Casino opening in Macau.
That's right, James Packer will be met with some more competition in Macau this year. Galaxy already have a casino open there, which grossed about $32 million in the first quarter of this year, mostly due to $250,000 hands at the table as a regular occurrence. Now, this new casino has been open to broaden the betting spectrum in Macau, which is one of the hubs of gambling in the world. So it'll be interesting to see how this affects James Packer's company.
And there's news from China about diesel.
That's correct. At the moment, it looks, China actually cancelled all export of diesel on Friday last week. This is to reserve it so that they have enough in China. There's an increasing demand there that's very hard to meet for them at the moment. This won't directly affect diesel buyers in Australia as we don't actually import diesel, but the flow-on effect will mean that people are paying more at the bowser. It's actually raised from about $1.40 a litre in Australia in February to last week it hit about $1.56 per litre, which is a huge increase. As well as that, other unleaded petrol buyers are actually being met with increased prices as well due to the problems at the oil refinery that's been affected by the floods in the south of America.
Thanks, Jane. Still to come on Newsline, all the latest in sport with Zach Hubber and a look at what's in store for us weather-wise this week.
Welcome back to Newsline. Now to a look at biker culture. Most of us think of bikers as dangerous and antisocial. But as Bethany England found out, some of them are just simple, fun-loving bike enthusiasts out for a good time.
It'd be fair to say that Australia's bike clubs don't have the best reputation. In fact, patch gangs such as Hells Angels and the Bandidos are widely feared in our community.
In June 2007, on this street corner in inner-city Melbourne, Hells Angels member Christopher Hudson shot 3 people in cold blood. His girlfriend, a Dutch backpacker, and lawyer Brendan Keeler, who was killed. Hudson fled the scene, resulting in mass panic in the city as police searched for his whereabouts. Today, the incident continues to influence the way bikers in Melbourne are perceived.
Enter the Ozhogs, a clean-skin bike chapter determined to be different. Their motto is simply ride and have fun, and that's exactly what they do.
It's the people, the experience of the rides, the bike. It's all about the bike. It's about the get out, the ride, the have fun, the road, the sound, the bits and pieces for the bike, customising, all that sort of stuff is what it's about. With Ozhog, it's a family. The people that are here today and on the rides that we do and the monthly meetings, it's a real family environment, and that's one of the things that sets us apart from a lot of other clubs, is that it's family.
The premises of the Ozhog or Hog chapters is to ride and have fun. You have a varied digression of members from different forms, from solicitors to labourers to whatever, but the one passion is to own a Harley Davidson. With that passion, we have in total 365 members within Ozhog itself.
Melbourne's bike gangs are notoriously exclusive, but the process to join the Ozhogs is simple, and as long as you're a Harley enthusiast, you're sure to be welcomed.
Well, you have to own a Harley Davidson, of course. You have to join Harley International. Once you join Hog International, then you can join any chapter within Australia.
Many bike clubs exclude women, but the Ozhogs are proud of their female members.
It doesn't matter to us whether it's, a guy riding beside us or a girl riding beside us. Once you've got your helmet on, you're just a motorcyclist.
Victoria's Baillieu government considers bikies to be an ongoing threat. New anti-association laws have been proposed, but are they really necessary?
Michael Benes, a criminology expert at RMIT, argues the tactic of banning the association of bike clubs will be ineffective and compromise civil liberty.
Any kind of legislation that would bar the association would be in breach of human rights, which could be contested in the High Court. It might actually affect other motorbike clubs that are not involved in criminal activity.
in comparison, we're probably meek and mild. A lot of professionals amongst us in regard to the club, and again, we're just on about riding and having fun.
We do a lot of charity work. Sausage sizzles like this. We do charity fundraisers with disabled kids, those type of things. And it's just part of that giving back to the community.
There's a feeling of freedom, of being with friends, mates around you, because we ride in staggered formation, close group. But it's one of freedom. I quite often like just getting on the bike, and as soon as I hit the throttle and move on, I feel like all my worries are behind me, and it's a great feeling.
For the Ozhogs, it all comes down to a love of motorcycles. Whether or not the new laws will affect these bikers is yet to be determined, but in the meantime, they'll continue to ride. Bethany England, Newsline.
Thanks, Bethany. Now to fill us in on what's been happening over the weekend in sport, we're joined by Zach Hubber. Now, Zach, the Saints can't seem to buy a win, can they?
They sure can't, Christy. The Saints are marching in every direction but north up the ladder at the moment. The Saints were woeful yesterday against an undermanned Hawthorn, losing by 5 goals. Now, the Saints were leading by 5 goals at quarter time and the Hawks were 2 down on the bench. However, the Hawks found a way, and coach Ross Lyons says the Saints will not be playing final football this year and will now look towards youth. Now, with those injuries to Hawthorn, Stephen Gillam has been ruled out for the rest of the year with that knee injury, and we're waiting on scans to see if ruckman David Hale will also be ruled out for the season. Also good news yesterday was for the Bulldogs, who had a good return to form that everyone expected them to have in 2011. The Dogs were very impressive against Richmond yesterday, winning by 35 points. Also, Tribunal news comes out tonight. Heath Hocking should get 2 weeks tonight for a off-the-ball incident against Polkinghorne. However, with the Tribunal these days, you never know what you're going to get.
And Zach, there's some mixed results for our Aussies overseas.
Yeah, that's right, Sam. The good news was that Casey Stoner won his second MotoGP title for the year, taking out the French GP last night over the 2 Italians. Now, this takes Stoner to second on the overall championship table, just behind current champion Jorge Lorenzo. The bad news for the Aussies was, though, that Sam Stosur lost the Rome International against Russian Maria Sharapova 6-2, 6-4 overnight. It was an error-ridden match. However, there is good news for Sam Stosur, who's been playing very good tennis and looks good for Roland Garros next month.
And I hear it's not a bad time to be living in Manchester.
Well, of course it's not. It's raining trophies at the moment. Manchester United won its 19th English Premier League title with a 1-1 draw against Blackburn in Blackburn. Now, the Red Devils only needed 1 point from its final 2 matches and did so in Blackburn impressively. The other good result was crosstown rivals Manchester City won its first piece of silverware since 1976, taking out the FA Cup against Stoke 1-0 at Wembley. And just further north in Scotland, Rangers have won another Scottish Premier League, taking the Teddy Bears 3 in a row.
All right, thank you, Zach. And now to today's weather. Mostly cloudy and 16 in Melbourne, with isolated light showers over the southeast and outer eastern suburbs. In Geelong, also cloudy with light showers, clearing this evening. Tomorrow looks to be partly cloudy with light winds, reaching a maximum of 17. Geelong will reach 16 with light showers early in the morning. And that's all we have time for on Newsline today. Thank you for your company.
And we do hope you can join us again at the same time tomorrow for Newsline. Have a great night.